When I met the devil, it was a cold and stormy day. I was slightly disheveled, but I felt a spark there anyway. It taught me Eldritch Blast, and I was sure this love would last. They all told me no, but he's the devil that I know. But now we're on the road, and we've got so far to go. Brimstone angels bound together, here to run the show. We'll hunt down all your foes, punch them in the nose. Brimstone angels stand together, go, go, go. Summon the devil. It was such a boring day. He wasn't that special. I was glad to walk away. But when we got kicked out, you needed me to bail you out. I raised my blade and sent devils to their grave. But now we're on the road, and we got so far to go. Brimstone angels fly together, here to run the show. We'll hunt down all your foes, punch them in the nose. Brimstone angels stand together, go, go, go. Love someone before we find ourselves. From the mountain peaks to the lowest dungeon dells, I have your back through all of the 9 hells, best of sisters. But now we're on the road, and we've got so far to go. Brimstone angels bound together, here to run the show. We'll hunt down all your foes, punch them in the nose. Brimstone angels stand together, go, go, go. Brimstone angels stand together, go, go, go.
Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to an improvised Idle Champions live stream. My name is Dylan, and I am coming to you live from the isolated, but the AC is thankfully on, streaming closet at Codename Entertainment in beautiful Victoria, BC, Canada. Before we begin, I would like to thank Dungeons & Dragons for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. And shout out as well to our moderator and co-producer, Jay. Oh, weird. I was almost yawned there. As well as our executive producer, Erica, for helping keep the show going. Now, normally around week 2 of an event, we would have whomever the latest champion's creator was with us to, talk about said champion. Unfortunately, in our case, Jerry Holkins is very, very busy. And there is a PAX West has become PAX Online, and there's a lot of stuff going on their end. So we weren't able to get Jerry for today. So instead, you have me. So here be me. If you have any questions, I'm just going to sit here and admire the infernal war machine that I know our art team put a lot of time into trying to make it just right for the game. And let the backgrounds look killer. And I know the devs had to do some interesting stuff to make the monsters hop up onto the war machine as it drives along. So if you have questions, feel free to shoot them my way. I know some of you are probably wondering why you are listening to an acoustic punk pop version or song, I guess, about the Brimstone Angels. That was from this week's episode of Bardic Inspiration, where we had author Aaron M. Evans join Jason Charles Miller and myself on the show to help write a song about Farida and Havilar. So if you listen closely to the lyrics of that one of the verses is distinctly from Farida's point of view, and the other one is distinctly from Javi's point of view, and the song is just kind of about their sisterhood and their growing relationship. It turned out really well, and I think we shared the highlight of that from the Twitch stream on our social. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't know if it'll unseat the Drop of Time song for Strad von Zarovich for me personally, but it was good. I liked it a lot. And next week, it's looking like we will have Jim Zub joining us to do a song for Minsk and Boo. So that should be a lot of fun too. Yeah. I'm glad you liked it, Antoine. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. It's definitely a change of pace. But it felt really rewarding, and it was nice to have Aaron there to contribute. Yeah, it was a good time. I see that Supply was asking if the code is an angel or a Brimstone Angel reference. No, there is a hidden code for today's stream. It might, I don't know, we'll see how challenging it ends up being to find. But the combination in the top left of the screen is a reference to Jim Darkmagic's middle name, since it's James Winifred Darkmagic III. So Winifred Loot seemed like a fun way to do it. And if I got that wrong, then I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I swear it was James Winifred Darkmagic III for his full name. Alrighty. Oh, I see questions coming in. Questions I probably can't even answer because I haven't looked at the tech for a lot of this stuff. Alrighty, Dylan, have I missed something, or is there nowhere which tells you how long you've been on an adventure without completing the adventure? That is correct, Cassius. Yeah, we've talked about adventure timers. I don't know if it's something that we're going to put in, but yeah, the only way to find out how long you are in an adventure is to complete it, and then it will tell you how much time you spent in it. Yeah. Does Dirac buff Omen's Goldfind buff in any way? That's a really good question. You would think, since Omen has a high wisdom score, that Narak's Githzerai focus would amplify all of Omen's buffs as well. I haven't tried. I haven't looked. I could try now. Omen's slot 3, right? Yeah. How about close allies? Since he's basically right in the middle. Get them all leveled up. And then Narak is over here. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what level he gets the right focus, so I'll just hold this down and level him all the way up. Alrighty. Looking at our gold find. Oh, that's it. Oh, because he's lowering. Because everything's on Caddy Bree right now, so yeah. Now it's a kind of a Zorbu DPS formation, right? Yep. Anyways, now ideally this is probably. Let's have a look. Where is his formation buffs? Bump, 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 bump. 1304E4. 707E4. Doesn't look like it does anything for the gold find buff. I will see if I will pass that along to the devs and see if that's intended. Anywho, let's switch this back because that was a much higher DPS formation. I think I'll just tell it to keep going. Any suggestions for Omen's Army of Timora for more than 30 seconds? I'm not sure I understand the question, Beal, right? Like suggestions for the achievement? I haven't even looked at the achievement. Doesn't look like I have it. Maintain it on all champions in the formation for at least 30 seconds. I certainly wouldn't do it in this adventure. I would do it in an adventure where you have a couple fast attacking champions wrapped right around him. So probably one of the Grand Tour adventures, because of the formation, and then I just wouldn't have champions at the front and back. And yeah, and then just make sure that they. I think you want them attacking. I can't remember if you want them attacking fast or slow. I see that Garwar agrees in chat. And the Sword Coast would be the best place to do it. I definitely wouldn't try to do it here because you're not going to get it on everybody. It is fast attacks, yeah. So like Birdsong, and Ishii. Birdsong and Ishii together is about as fast as attacks get. Alrighty, so with Ikoria coming out, will Dragonbait be getting his first golden epic soon? He's the only evergreen without... that's a very good point, M. Snyder. It was one of those things that it wasn't intended that Dragonbait wouldn't have any golden epics. We just hadn't gotten to it. What with the release schedule of champions and weekend promos and events and other things. So there's a lot to that. Yeah, so I know that the team is aware of that because we were talking about it earlier this week. I don't know, I can't give you an ETA on when there will be a Dragonbait Golden Epic, but yeah, we're certainly aware. Who came up with Zapper Overload? And why do they hate us? That was that was almost definitely Chris Dupuis. I don't think he hates you, but it's, sometimes when you're working on games, it's nice to put things in them that that players will hate. Like, I don't know how many of you played Diablo 2 back in the day, but do you remember in the was it the second act when you're in the jungle? And there are those creepy, culty, mask-wearing enemies that make the sound that sounds like a mosquito as they run at you. They go as they come at you and they come to stab you, and it was just like, it was infuriating to listen to. Like, it's just like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, it made me want to rage. Anyways, maybe I want to rage. Anyways, so it was brutal. Anyways, you got to put something in there for people, and also, like, sometimes adding a bit of challenge is obnoxious as hell. Like, it's just, it really depends. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. Watt Prime. I can't comment on that. Watt Prime. Sorry. I was wondering if with Year 1 champions not being an event soon, would we see time gates changing so we complete all the champion variants in one time gate? No, that's not something that we're planning on doing. Want to die 69. Yeah, players get access to quite a few time gates these days, and certainly with now that we're up to 3 patrons and we will eventually be up to 4 or 5 or more, time gate pieces are not the kind of rare currency that they used to be. So, players are able to open a fair number of time gates, and that's we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's gonna what's the word I'm looking for? The experience of unlocking a character and completing all their variants, I don't think is going to be severely hampered by this. So when should we start asking for hints about the evil code that was added as a hidden code? So I added an evil one at the suggestion of one of our devs. I put it in, and so far nobody has found it, which is a bit of a surprise to me. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I guess I figured somebody would have found it, and nobody has. I can't give any hints on it though, because to be honest, I've actually forgotten exactly what it was. Speaking of Zapper, Has any thought gone into how offline progress trivializes a lot of variant stuff? Yeah, a lot of a thought has, and it's a very interesting conundrum that is extremely challenging. We can't find something that we have no hints on, Chadisaro. Well, yeah, it's evil. It's an evil code. No hints for the evil code. Come on. Um, Anyways, yeah, offline progress does some interesting things when it comes to some of the more challenging variants. There are a number of variants that completing an area more than once a minute is very difficult, if not very, very difficult. And, uh, offline progress will help you get through that because it looks at the areas that you're at and the damage you can do. And like, it looks at a lot of stuff, but it can't take 100% of variables into account. The game is complex as it turns out. Um, so, yeah, offline progress does make some things easier. But I also think that that's kind of interesting, especially now that we have mode run automation and multi-party mode, and you are able to run more than one adventuring party at the same time. Your second party, and if it's not doing gem runs or something, you can just you know set them up to do some of your more challenging variants and check in on it periodically, right? Like it's yeah, it adds some really interesting layers to gameplay, I think. Um, I don't know how to say that name. Ziedzor? I mean by slowing down your progress speed by offline progress, you skip variant mechanics, and it seems somewhat balanced. Yeah, it gives you an alternative tool that'll allow you to get around some things, and I think that's actually really clever. Um, yeah. Zeke the Geek, second party. I'm so behind. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, let me introduce you to my gem farming formation that I have not really checked on much lately. Apparently, not for the last 90 resets. So, down in this part of the screen, you got this adventuring parties button. I can't remember. Is it behind my head right now? Yeah, it is. Ugh. Adventuring parties right there, right beside familiars and inventory. Um, and so I have my main party, which is doing the current adventure, and a Modron core for it. And then my second party that has its own Modron core, and it is set up for automation. So what I can do from where I am right now is I can actually switch over to this party, and you go through something that is essentially offline progress calculations again to load the other one. Um, Please don't crash on stream. That would be really embarrassing. Uh, Anyways, so you swap over, boom, and this is your other party. And you set this up the exact same way that you would set up your regular party. I have a familiar on my click damage. I have familiars on the area to click to kill enemies, and then I have them on each of the 5 champions that I'm using in this formation because this one only does 30 areas in Mad Wizard, and then it repeats, right? And so I picked 5 champions that I don't use very frequently in my main formations. So I have Donar, Nayeli, Jaheira, Dadius, the Scarlet, and Krond. And then in the Modron core, which is level 7 and getting quite filled out at this point, um, this is a lot to explain, but essentially you start with 1 input power and you power your automation component with enough Modron pipe pieces to get that one active. And once you do that, you can set up automation. And with automation, you can pick the formation out of your formations. You can pick the specializations for the champions that they will pick in it. You set your area goal, and you set buffs if you want them to use, say, potions each time. Like you can tell it. You can be like, yo, use a speed potion in area 1 at the start of every adventure. Now, I don't recommend doing that because that'll eat through your speed potions pretty quickly. But yeah, right now I just have it set to just, use a whole bunch of my familiars to click through. And then as you are able to unlock enough components to fill out your grid and gain levels in your Modron automation, you can activate different buffs. Like there's a DPS buff here, increase the damage of all champions by 1,600%. Once you have your flow greater than 4, and there's a number of them. There's There's one that lowers the health of enemies. There's ones that increase the health of your champions, increase your gold find, etc. There's a whole bunch. And as you complete resets and go through areas with that formation, you earn experience that allows you to unlock more and more of the automation. And with each level you gain, you earn chests. And of course, there are also chests available to purchase if you want to speed that up for yourself. But yeah, so right now I have this formation is set to just keep automating for the next 7 days, and so you're only obligated to check on it once a week. So yeah, this is your second party. I named this one Cron Gems, but it could be pain in the butt variants, and you could set it up to do some of the more challenging variants, and just depending on how you want to play the game, go back and forth managing your party. It's a massive feature, Zeke the Geek, and we don't expect everybody to fully unlock everything in it right away. But yeah, it'll give you something to work towards, setting up your automation. Yeah. Would it be possible to set filters for the store by items that cost money, gems, and event tokens? That's an interesting question, Danzin. I can pass that along to the team. I don't know if that's something that they are looking at when it comes to store improvements, but it never hurts to pass it along. Alrighty. Let's see. If a year 1 champion, which is removed from an event, needs the reach level XXX achievement, can you do it in the next year's event, even if he's not in the event? I don't think so. I think you need to do the free play. So you would need to do a free play. So you would want to do your time gate free play, Glacier. See people in chat talking about how 500,000 gems is a lot. It is. But one of the things that this does is this allows you to farm gems at a radically faster pace. I mean, I have a background party that is farming gems all day long every day for a week at a time when I'm not checking on it. And so I don't even look at my gems very often anymore because they're just, I have lots of gems. It just keeps going. Yeah. Are the achievements for doing the year 3 variants for the 3 variants for year 1 champions remaining, or will they become legacy? I'll tell you what, Damon Black. I know everybody is very curious about what we're going to be doing with year 4 events, what that means for year 1 champions that are moving out of events, and what all that's going to look like. And we will be talking about that, but we're not quite at year 4 events yet. We are in our second to last year 3 event. We have Bright Swords coming up in a few weeks. And a CNE original champion with that. And then after that, we'll be moving into High Harvesttide again. Or sorry, after that, we'll be going into our anniversary celebration. And then after that, we will be doing our first year 4 event. And so expect to hear more about what year 4 events are going to look like, what that means for year 1 champions then. Yeah. Because I only have partial answers for a lot of these questions, and what I don't want to do is be like, it's going to be this way, and then it changes between now and then. So, yeah. Can I tell you at least if it's 12 or 16? Are you asking about the hidden code for this stream, Jadicero, or are you asking about the evil code? The evil code I'm not going to give a hint on. It's super dumb. The evil code, yeah. No hints on the evil code. To be honest, I'd have to look it up. I just remember one of our devs made an evil suggestion, and I made it a reality. I think it was Peter. I think Peter made the suggestion. Anyways, but there will be a hint about the hidden code on this stream. Will there ever be a pity timer on shinies, or are they meant to be a super rare and awesome drop? Feels as if it's extremely swingy as it is / has been. Are there any plans on expanding the item system by switchable items, other rarities, etc.? So there aren't any plans on expanding the item system by allowing you to switch items between different rarities or types. The game is kind of designed with you are always going to be using the best one that you have. In terms of a pity timer on shinies, it's not something that we've ever planned to do. How do you unlock that adventuring party? So Synax, once you have unlocked enough extra champions, you will get access to adventuring parties, and then once you have at least 2 champions in each of the 12 bench slots, you will be able to unlock Modron automation. There is an extremely challenging adventure tied to this called Split the Party that, as you play, removes champions from your formation. It's brutal. Garwar did an amazing stream/guide about it a couple of weeks ago. If he's in chat, he could tell you which episode number it was. I want to say it was number 15. I bet I could look that up really quickly on the CNE Games chat and just post a link. Hold on a second. Alrighty. Garwar's Guides. And then it was... Let's see. Multi-party time. Excellent. Nice Bill and Ted reference. So episode 15 on July 17th, I think, is the one. Which I'm going to post a link to in chat right now. And then about 20 seconds later, you'll hear me saying, this is why I posted the link. Oh, yeah, it is Wayne's World, isn't it? For some reason, I was thinking Bill and Ted. You know, it's the excellent. But yeah, party time. Yeah, God, Wayne's World. Wayne's World. We're old. All right. Is there any real benefit to having heroes in your gem farming party? I have 1 familiar on leveling click damage and 1 on clicking. No party members. I reset at 150 and I don't have any issues. Currently, arrows for days that can be done. But it is not something that is intended to always stay that way. Yeah, that was something that we talked about a bit during our Summer Spectacular Dev Q&A. That was... now we know that he watched the Bill and Ted trailer before stream. No, I watched that when it came out, whenever that was. But I do remember seeing Wayne's World in the theater, and that was more than 2 decades ago. So... yeah, that makes me feel old. Well, I'm just looking up our Dev Q&A stream. There it is. So, a lot of stuff was covered during our Dev Q&A, so I'm just going to post a link to that as well. It was last century. Yeah, it was last century. Posting that in chat as well. Anyways, yeah, currently you don't need to put any heroes at all in your gem farming party. You could just do it with click damage. Yeah, you can. But that's something that is planned to be changed. Because we do want you to need to use your champions in your gem farming, your party list. Basically, a bunch of people lazily sending their familiars to go do everything for them, which actually, that tracks. But yeah, that's not something that's going to be a permanent option for that feature. Yeah. Is there an achievement for using potions as part of your automation? You know, I never looked, CD88, because to be honest, I never actually look at the achievements. Where is the achievements? What's in progress? Have Modron automation use 500 potions. Ugh. No. Just no. I just don't want to do that. I like my potions. How do you get a second Modron core? Zbard, the second Modron core is a profoundly high 500,000 gems. Yeah. What adventure is best for AFK gem farming? I'm like skipping past a lot of questions, but I just saw that coming in now. Either Beast Intentions or Mad Wizard. Mad Wizard has the highest spawn rate. Beast Intention, the enemies are beasts, so like it's really easy to amp up your buffs against them and make things go fast. In Jim's event variant Magical Misadventure, where only characters with magical attacks can be used, why can't Beetle and Grim be selected? Oh, that's a good question, Sifu. I will pass that along to the devs. That would go to this person. Because, yeah, Beetle just kind of pokes people with his wand, right? His attack should qualify as magic. I know that the intent for Beetle and Grim is for them to both be usable in each of each other's variants, but I'm sure there are going to be some outliers where it just doesn't work. Is there any advantage to using speed champions in the offline party? I think you mentioned in a previous stream that some speed champions work with offline progress. Nefarious 14, that is also covered in the dev Q&A, and I actually, thanks to having a 6-month-old child, my short-term memory is not as sharp as it was 6.5 months ago. So, as I understand it, only some speed champions' abilities are taken into account with the calculation for offline progress at this time. So, which ones they are is a very good question. I will poke. I will poke the devs to see if I can't get a definitive list for that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sean is telling me that the Narak attempting to buff Omen's Goldfind buff is currently bugged. Can you explain what global damage is for characters like Cthulhu? Having a hard time finding anything online to explain it. Yeah, that's everybody's damage. Global damage? It's the number at the top left, basically. It's like your base DPS, but like global damage is something that affects everybody in the formation. I hope that helps. Alrighty. Alpha Crawl. When making new non-CNE champions, how much does the creator have to say about the abilities? Can they suggest or request certain things, like speed, goal find, or they describe the character and CNE finds a suitable mechanic to put upon the champion? It's a collaboration, Alpha Crawl, so some creators have more to say about different parts of their character than others. And we have worked with the full spectrum of creators, from the ones who are like, not a lot of decisions were made specifically by them, and we do what we think is correct and we get them to approve it, all the way over to some who are very specific about lots of different aspects of their character, and we work with them on that. Either way is good for us. If anything, we prefer that, we really, really like working with creators who are specific about every aspect of their character, because it means that what we put together will be as true as possible. This isn't to say that some of the iterations of the champions in game are less true than others. It's just that, everybody approaches making their D&D characters differently, thinks about them differently. Some people write 10 pages of backstory before they play their session 1. Some people just fly by the seat of their pants. And, some people, will write, paragraphs about why they have each item in their possession, and some players are like, yeah, I think that picked up on that up at some point. Like it runs the full spectrum. It's pretty neat. I know that, for example, with Omen Drawn being added to the game recently, Jerry was very specific about the item names and the flavor text. Like, there's an item in there that says walnut dawngrass spelled dawngrass, and that's intentional. When can we buy buffs to speed up the black bar transition between zones? So Zeke the Geek, what that black bar transition is actually doing is it's hiding the loading screen from area to area as it loads new art assets. So the only way to speed that up past a certain point would be to have a faster computer and faster internet. I think. Yeah. Hey Dylan, would you be willing to show off your automated formation? I love seeing what everybody is getting up to on that. Sure, yeah, I don't mind. Switch back over. I can't remember exactly when the artist started drawing that Infernal War Machine, but I remember seeing it being seeing the art assets of it getting shared in our like company chat and just being excited that it was coming. Um, so I have an exorbitant amount of favor in my Grand Tour of the Sword Coast campaign, and so I'm easily able to level up all the characters. Um, I don't know if the bug related to level 1 champions and their specializations has been fixed for Modron automation yet, because I set up this formation to get around that by just not using a slot 1 champion in it. And so, because my boy Krond here, who I used to really love as a main DPS, has fallen, behind my Artemis formation. I don't really use Krond as a DPS anymore. Because I don't use Krond as a DPS, I never use Dadius and I never use Donar. And Nayeli, I just find rarely fits into my formations anymore, despite being a phenomenal tank. And so I basically turned this into a Krond formation. Jaheira is good at killing beasts. I can't remember actually my exact reasoning behind putting her in there. I could have sworn that something to do with beast killing, I think, because she doesn't speed this up. So I wouldn't say this is the most optimized formation. As somebody else pointed out in chat correctly, you can just have familiars in this formation with another familiar leveling click damage, and you can burn through however many areas without using up any of your spare champions currently. But I figured I'd give my less used champions a home for a little while, and so that's what's happening here. One of the key things to remember in setting up automation for your formations is that you need to treat it like it starts its own adventure every time. So if you're not using a slot 1 champion and you don't have familiars clicking and you don't have click damage being clicked, how would your adventure start? And so you might set up all of your automation and be like, oh, I got familiars on champions 2 through 5 or 6 or whatever. And you set up all of your automation, but you didn't deal with that first step. Your automation's not going to work. It needs to have all the pieces. And so, it may take a little bit of trial and error for you to get it right right away. But you'll get there. It's really fun, and it's a really rewarding feature once you start to dive into it. But it's not essential, and it does add more management, more stuff to pay attention to. So, yeah. I'm going to switch back because I want to see that Infernal War Machine. Is anybody looking into Modron buffs being calculated as additive instead of multiplicative, as it was commented as it should be? As far as I know, everything related to that is being tracked by the ongoing bug list. That's outside my responsibilities. I don't pay attention to the bug list personally. That's a good Sean question. When you submit an in-game support ticket now and it's related to Modron automation, you are able to see a sort of a list of the ongoing bugs that are being looked at by devs and the sort of order for them. And so that's something that is still happening, and we're not, you kind of upvote the ones that you're seeing. If you don't see something that if you are seeing a bug in game that when you go to submit a report and you don't see it on that list, it's very important that you add it, please. Yeah. Does anybody remember what the good code was? Maybe it's related. The 20 and 28 hidden combinations were the good code. And that list is solved now. Yeah. Sean says that the additive / multiplicative thing is being looked into, and it's only showing as additive. How soon might a second purchasable Modron core be introduced? That's I don't have that information for you. It's we're pretty focused on iterating and refining the feature right now, improving it, making it run better. That's kind of what our main focus. Alrighty, Beetle and Grib still have some bugs. I could use them in a Mert of no good allowed variant, which only allowed me to use evil champions and Beetle and Grin. That is a bug, Kaido, so I will pass that along as well. All right. So Narak should be buffing Omen's boosts. I mean, Narak should be buffing all of Omen's abilities because Omen is a champion with high wisdom, and gets their eye focus amplifies champion's abilities. Yeah. Alrighty. Blasphemer. Could we get a champion who lets the cooldown timers run between areas? Or is that a hard-coded mechanic that doesn't move during the loading screen? Or some other mechanic? As I understand, that's tied to the loading, and like when you finish an area, it kind of like you get there's a snapshot of your formation, your progress, everything that's happening is taken. Then you load the next one, and then it continues. Timers continuing to go between doesn't. I don't think that's something that we would do or try to do. Can we get an undo button for pipes so that we can test changes? That is a great suggestion. I don't know if it's been passed along already, but I will be sure to. Alrighty. Can you share some insight on how long the design process takes for a champion? And what stages that involves? I can, yeah. I have participated in some of them. Depending, so it varies depending on whether it's a character based on lore printed in books or part of the, like from a board game or something. And then versus working with a creator. So I'll speak to a creator one because that is a longer process distinctly. Essentially, it's about a 3-week effort across the company in order to make it happen between the time spent collaborating with somebody. We would do back in the day, we might actually see somebody in person, but these days it's pretty much exclusively we do video or voice calls for the initial meeting where we talk to somebody about like who is their character, get their character stat sheets, get their item lists, talk to them about their backstory. We get the person to send us anything that they have prepared for it. Like it should come as no surprise to fans of High Rollers Eros that Kim Richards had written a fair amount of backstory for Nova V'ger and that she passed along to us. A part of which includes some tidbits that I don't know if have ever been shared on the show, but that will tie into the Eros synergy coming later this year. Anyway, side note. So we have that initial call, and depending on how much information we're able to just like leech, we're able to flay out of their minds, I guess. We'll start putting builds together for the character. What we're looking for at first is like tone, the characteristics that are very distinct, what their go-to moves are in like combat or otherwise, like what their favorite spells or favorite abilities are, that kind of stuff. And so we get that list, and then we start looking at depending. God, sorry, Twitch is trying to get me to do my make alerts and talk about my subiversary. Nepotism, yeah, totally. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, so we have that tends to be a longer call. It'll involve Chris Dupuis and or Justin as the design lead for the champion. As well, it will also involve the artists who will be involved in drawing and animating the champion, as well as creating all of their icons and equipment. And then it will also involve either Clive or myself or both. Sometimes Margaret, somebody from the marketing team, because we will also go over the creator with how we're going to talk about the character and when we're going to talk about the character and what the contract looks like and all that stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff. So then we start, it's a back and forth from then on. We'll create a design for the character, be like, what do you think about this? At the same time, that design is the character designs are being done. The art is being done and bounced back and forth, trying to make sure that we get it just right. We will get people to send us key art. We'll get them to send us fan art that they like the most. Because this fan art captured whatever the best, and so we'll do all of that, and we'll make sure that we, as best as we are able to in this game, represent their character visually, based on how the creator sees them, and how they've been interpreted and all that stuff. And we kind of aim for like a best of, I guess, version of them, and so that whole thing takes weeks. And it also includes like once the design is kind of nailed down and the art is nailed down, the devs build them in the game and port them to the other versions of the game, which can take some time too. So, yeah, it's like a solid 3 weeks for a character, spread across a number of departments, and then that effort is these days spread out sometimes over as much as like 6 months. It can take a long time. So. That's the design process for a creator. For a lore character, we just put our heads down and we do our reading as much as we can, or a character that's already part of D&D. So sometimes, like in the case of Deacon Scalesinger, we reached out to the folks at Beamdog and we're like, hey, do you have key art for Deacon that we can look at? Like, what can you help us with to represent him, to bring him to the game? And yeah, so we got some art from Neverwinter. We got the script for all of Deacon's idle dialogue, which is mostly just the word Doom over and over, but like all of it, like pages of just all the dialogue that he has in the game, quotes, and just like, yeah, so we did that. And then with some characters like Artemis, we pick a version. In this case, it was like the first version of Artemis, like Artemis from the Crystal Shard, who you only see at a glance and you don't know much about. And and then Chris stresses about making sure that he did enough reading to represent the character properly. Yeah, but either way, it's a design process that's a lot of fun and filled with a lot of love. And then on the occasion that we get to do a C&E original character, it's usually to fulfill some sort of need in the game. Like we need a character that can fit. We need an evil healer, so we made Cesaspia. We wanted a goblin artificer, and so we made the character that's coming in Bright Swords. That kind of stuff. Okay, I answered that question for way too long. I see questions piling up. I'm going to start moving forward. Okay. How do you deal with armor-based bosses if Kron is not your DPS anymore? Well, I mean, whomever your DPS is, ideally they either attack very quickly or they attack multiple times if you're having trouble with armored bosses. Birdsong is awesome at slaying armored bosses. Birdsong with Ishii in the formation means that Ishii will attack super fast. Just as another thing. Binwin is great at shredding armored bosses and is, as it turns out, a DPS champion that's not heavily used these days. So Binwin is always an option. Armored bosses are. I mean, they're the challenging type, right? Like, what you don't want is a champion with an extremely long attack timer, who won't be hitting the boss frequently enough before they power up and kill you. So, that's the best advice I can give. So I have a question about the core. It was said on the weekly Q&A that the damage is multiplicative. Blah, 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 blah. Multiplicative. God, I hate that word. Every time I try to read it, I screw it up. Is the gold increase also multiplicative or additive? No idea. No idea. I have not looked. My assumption is that it would be additive because multiplicative would be really high, like really high. But I will make a note. Sean, can you answer this? Send him a PM. How do you unlock Modron automation? I'm glad you asked, Binary Monk. So, I'm gonna switch over to game only because then I don't have to lean awkwardly out of my chair. Once you have unlocked enough champions, this little icon down here, I'm gonna make it blink by just mousing over it repeatedly. This icon will appear once you've unlocked enough champions, and in it, you will be able to start switching parties. However, you will need to complete an adventure that doesn't show up until after you have at least 2 champions in each of the 12 bench slots. I shouldn't have had something carbonated. I think I might be getting the hiccups, and that'll be the end of this stream if that happens. Anyways, once you have 2 champions in each slot, so you have 24 champions unlocked total. Probably more than that because there's a couple other slots where you'll want to double up. But once you have each of the 12 slots with at least 2 champions in it, you will gain access to a new adventure that will show up in this menu called Split the Party. That is a nightmare to complete because it's very, very difficult. Check out Garwar's Guide to Everything, episode 15, to learn more. I would spam that link in the chat again, but I think I've already closed that window, so I don't have that link handy. But anyways, you will unlock that mode, and then you will get 1 core. And in order to get your second core, you will need to save up a lot of gems. But luckily, that first core can help you get there. That's like the quickest way I can explain it, Binary Monk. It's a big, deep feature that'll have a lot to dive into. Does having more familiars in offline parties speed it up at all? Yeah, it does. Familiars' actions are taken into account with offline progress, so using them is great. What does enable a Modron output at epic rarity actually mean? What it means, Cassius, is you can overflow your nodes. So when it starts at 1.0 and it's 100%, you'll notice that it's common colored, and then as you amp it up, once it hits 2.0, it's green, and then 3.0, it's blue, and 4.0, it's purple. And so like the flow color is the rarity, and so you want to activate nodes at purple because it means it's 4 or higher. That is an epic flow, which there's got to be a better way we could say that. Anyways. Would love to see a roving familiar slot to level up random champions. That's something we've talked about in Nefarious. I don't know if it's a route we want to go, but it has been discussed before. Hey, Dylan, can you say when Modron comes to Switch? Oh, that's a good question, J-Room. I will, you know what? I will pass this along to the dev team and see if I have an ETA on it. I know that developing for Switch is harder than other platforms. Yeah. Purple flow sounds good. Easier than saying epic. Yeah. 4.0, 4 flow. I don't know. Just talking about flow is weird. I don't know. It makes me think of surfing, not pipes. Woot. All right. Alrighty. I'll see if I can answer. Bane Dead 13. Any info on the new Evergreen? Yeah, what I know about that is the Champion Spotlight is being finished up by Chris Dupuis now. I don't know how long it'll take to finish. The Champion is coming next week as part of an update to the Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign. The Champion's name is Olcoria Stonemarrow. She is an Archmage. She's a Shield Dwarf Archmage who has about a paragraph of text about her in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist TRPG book, and that's like the extent of knowing about her. It's like, she used to own Trollskull Manor. She is an Archmage called the Gargoyle because she's got a grumpy face. Nobody knows where she lives because she teleports in and out of her home. So it's definitely too early for me to talk about anything related to her design, but if you want a preview into Olcoria Stonemarrow that doesn't involve Datamine content, but you are welcome, of course, to check out Datamine content in the Well of Spoilers on the Discord. Tune in to Griddle Champions tomorrow morning. Yeah. Alrighty. Can we have information on champion attack AoE radius values? They're never displayed numerically in game and given arbitrary descriptions, massive circle and small radius. That's a good point. Quick Mithril, I will pass that along. That person. Alrighty. Besides an undo for pipes, could there be an edit or lock button for pipes? Moving around the screen sometimes grabs a pipe, makes it go poof. Yeah, and another suggestion that we get a lot of is a clear pipes button. Yeah. So it is, our suggestions list is something that we very much want to get to with Modron automation, but at this point we're focused on optimizations and bug fixes. I just got word from our live services director that there is not an ETA for the Nintendo Switch launch of Modron automation and multi-party mode yet. They are working on optimizations for Nintendo right now. Speaking of the bug list, I feel like it is rather clogged when trying to figure out which bugs have already been reported and which have not. Like, the list is a mile long and it contains everything from suggestions to bug reports across every platform the game is released on, and there's no particular order. It's thanks to the feedback, Badger Buccaneer. I'm not sure what we can do about that currently, but I do know that they were talking during this morning's meetings about some ways to make that list a little bit easier to parse. So I will just pass your feedback along. And yeah, thank you for bearing with us, and thank you for trying to submit bugs to us. We appreciate it. Alrighty, your opponent. Any chance that potion duration to be carried over between adventures minus the one that is not duration based? No, that's not something we're planning on doing. Your opponent. Koshia. So who can I send my character backstory and contact information with? I'd like to see my character in Idle Champions. We are not currently accepting submissions for players' characters to join the game, but who knows? Someday that might change. Would it ever be possible to introduce a mechanic to level up familiars? Maybe introduce multi-functions like leveling up plus ultimate or click damage plus ultimate, etc. I mean, that's a huge idea, turn-based wombat. Yeah, I don't know. I can pass that idea along. But that sounds like a lot. Leveling up familiars, like next thing you know, you'll be catching them and you'll be using them to fight other people's familiars. What then? Where does it end? Anyways, I will pass this along. Are there other Acquisitions Incorporated characters in the works? To my knowledge, there are not currently any other Acquisitions Incorporated champions in the pipeline. Yeah, I don't think there are. Rounding out this year, we are going to finish off the High Rollers Aerowiz team, and we are going to continue to fill out the to introduce characters from the D&D Beyond stream shows. We have at least 2 of those in the pipe, as well as there's our year 4 events. The first 2 champions are both lore-based characters for year 4 as well, and that kind of finishes up this year, I think. Yeah. But and certainly there are no further Acquisitions Incorporated characters coming in 2020, barring some radical change. Any chance of characters from the Order of the Stick showing up? I don't think so, Trontonian. Now, the last time somebody asked me about the Order of the Stick, I didn't know what it was, and I ended up spending like 3 hours reading those comics, like right after the stream, and just like kind of lost in it. And it's brilliant, and I love it, and it's really funny, and I'm a fan. I would consider myself a fan now, although there's a lot I haven't read. I only read like the first, I don't know, 100 maybe. There's a lot of them. Wow. But yeah, that's not something that we're currently planning, Trontonian. Yeah. Aren't there 5 colors for the flow? The 4 flows and then 1 more if you get even higher. Yeah, it's true. There is currently like a deeper purple that is the overflow color. We haven't done anything to make it more distinct yet. Any thoughts on being allowed to buy more than 1 Modron chest per patron per week? No. We're very happy with that aspect of the system as is. We're just going to continue to work on iterating on the feature and smoothing it out, fixing bugs, etc. Can the flow to epic rarity achievements be reworded for clarity? That's possible. I can pass that along. Yeah. Alrighty. Do any familiars have some special abilities or bonus? There is only one familiar that can do anything unusual. In that there is a Easter egg interaction, but it is a purely cosmetic thing that has no gameplay impact. There are no differences from one familiar to another in terms of what they're able to accomplish as familiars, clicking on things, etc. Since we get a new Evergreen champion, do we also get a new champion during the next event? Yeah, Tarjik. Evergreen champions are champions that get released outside of events and whose loot you can gain from opening gold chests once they're unlocked. So once you have Olkoria Stone Marrow next week, you will be able to gear her up if you have instantly to epic if you have at least 50 gold chests saved, although you might want to use your silver chests first to get the whites and greens for her. Don't forget that part. That'll be next week on Wednesday, barring something strange happening. God, it's like, okay, the AC turned off and it's starting to get really stuffy in here, and I know I need to blow my nose. With the box of tissues, I left it on the chair on the other side of the room. so that's a thing. Anyways. I see another player asking about how to unlock Modron Automation. So Modron Automation and multi-party mode stems from this here button down at the bar here on the right, adventuring parties. I'm just going to mouse over it over and over again to make it blink. But the adventuring parties button. Once you have at least 6 additional champions unlocked on top of your base 12 champions and however many evergreens are unlocked, like once you have 6 event champions unlocked, it'll appear and you'll be able to access it. And then Modron Automation and the cores you will not be able to access until you have at least 2 champions in each of the 12 bench slots. And from there, you'll be able to complete an adventure, a special, extremely, extremely hard adventure called Split the Party. You'll be able to find guides on how to help you with that. It's hard. It definitely requires some thought and planning putting into it. I kind of just went into it willy-nilly, not paying attention, and it ended up being extremely difficult for me because I just didn't read all of the text through. Anyways, once you've done that and you unlock the core, you'll be able to start setting up automation. Baby Illy G 2000 is the next event, the last one for year 3. Yes, so Bright Swords is our last event for year 3. That'll be coming up after next week's update, which is a Dragon Heist update. The following week, Bright Swords 3 will come out, bringing with it C&E Original Goblin Artificer Champion. And that'll be the last event of year 3. Following that, we'll have our anniversary celebration, and then we'll start year 4. Let's see. For Modron Automation, if you use a 1-hour potion, will it last over multiple resets? For example, a speed potion on a gem farming run. The potion will end automatically upon a reset, just like potions normally do. What would you do to level up your familiars? Would there be familiars jumping up and down on another familiar? I don't know. Like, if we wanted to level familiars, I think you would want to assign them to tasks, and then they would level up. Like, maybe after a certain amount of enemies clicked, while it's clicking, it gains a level in click damage or something. I don't know. And then, like, if it's leveled up champions enough times, it gets something else. You can level up each of its skills, so it's like got click damage, and it's got ultimates, and it's got champion leveling, and it's like it kind of like you up its skills and how good it is at different things. But that also strikes me as a rabbit hole to go down that like is not idle champions. That sounds like another game. I don't know. Okay, but hear me out. What's a Modron? Modrons are clockwork beings from the lawful neutral plane of Mechanus or Mechanus. It's a plane of pure law that exists, kind of like if the all of the planes are on a wheel and the nine hells, the lawful evil nine hells are at the bottom, and the is that where the nine hells are? Or are they off to the side? Because it kind of is. There's like a good and evil, and then there's like lawful and chaos. It's kind of how it is. And so the abyss is chaotic evil, and the nine hells is lawful evil, and then anyways, Mechanus is just it's lawful neutral, and it's the Modrons are these clockwork beings that have like this perfectly tiered pyramid-like hierarchy of a society. With at the very top is a deity called Primus. And if they may or may not be a deity, but they're something close to a deity if they aren't one. But for all intents and purposes, they are Modron Prime. They're Primus, and Primus creates Modrons and does weird things with them, like send them touring the cosmos, touring the lower planes every once in a while. It's bizarre. Modrons are weird, but yeah, they're clockwork people, clockwork beings. And like they level up when like one of a higher level is destroyed. They all kind of like tier up one space. So and then a new one is created. They're wacky. Alrighty. Are you ever going to release Modron chests that cost gems and not money, similar to normal gold chests? I don't think that's something we're planning to do. You can get them through the patron shop, or you can buy them, or you can earn them through leveling. Any thoughts on having bosses drop Modron chests? No, that's not likely to happen. You guys get asked so often about Modron automation. Maybe you should add some good in-game documentation about it. That had crossed my mind. The challenge with that is that when we first started making the feature, and this story was told a bit during the Summer Spectacular Dev Q&A stream that you can find in our VODs, hopefully. It was something that Justin asked one of our devs if they could do towards the end of 2019, around the time that the dev blog was coming out about the features that we wanted to do in 2020, and the dev was like, "Yeah, I think we could do that in a couple weeks," and that was 8.5 months ago. The feature ended up being radically more complex and difficult to implement than we had initially thought. We still have a lot that we want to do to it. There are aspects of it that we want to iterate on. There are a number of features that we had hoped to launch with that we just haven't been able to make yet. There are lots of bugs to fix. And so as we were gearing up to the Summer Spectacular event, we were hoping and planning to have a Modron automation and multi-party mode dev Q&A that was like a thorough FAQ about how the features work, how everything fits. And it didn't end up coming together because we are still changing too much of it. So it hasn't happened yet. But we're getting there. Alrighty. Cold Find familiars, Distraction familiars, Ultimate Attack familiars. Well, it'd be interesting if there are familiars that excelled at a particular task. Like, leveling up a champion with this familiar gives that champion 10% more damage or something. And as you level up a familiar to max, eventually it gets up to 100%. That kind of thing. Yeah. Let's see. What else we have? Why can we buy only one gold chest at a time? That's been on our QOL update list for a very long time, and we just haven't gotten to it. We tend to focus more on the stuff that is causing adverse gameplay, not just inconvenience. Lots of bugs with Modron automation. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to change this formation up just to make things more interesting. I'm going to do a Ishii DPS formation with friends to shorties just because I want to. expert. I mean, if you put one Kobold family, yes, of course. If you put one Kobold champion in, you have to put all Kobold champions in because you want more Kobold champs. Deacon. I think I'm just going to make him affect all champions so I can move him somewhere else. Boom, boom. Dun, dun. Alrighty. You can come out here. Then freely. Always expect chaos. The best way to freely. Dun, 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 dun. Alrighty. Regis. Ahead. Let me put you over here. Sorry, Krull. And then melee, because this is going to be an Ishii formation, so. Dun, 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 dun. Alrighty, more game. No. I don't think Sorials don't count as shorties, do they? Oh, it does count. Okay, yeah, they do. Okay, good. He's sitting up there with 3 tanks. You know, I think the only problem at this point is that we don't have enough kobolds. We need more kobold champs. Anyways, I'll be able to complete the variants with this. I just wanted to switch things up just so it's a full kobold team win. Yeah, more kobold champions. All right. Let's see. Question. Is the bug tracker more usable on your end than ours? Like, I can't find my own entries, comments, never mind everybody else's. Yeah, it's more usable on ours, OG17. It's just how we organize it. You gave Regis a head buff. Yeah. So that Ichi Snaggletooth would be getting the buff. Oh, that's what I need to do. Plunk. That'll buff Ichi. And I wonder. No. Anyways. Would you mind touching on your technical setup for your streaming? You and other CNE folks seem to have a great video and audio quality relative to other streams and other guest streamers you have come on. Well, I mean, a lot of that nefarious stems from the fact that most guests are not streamers and they're using webcams that are part of like their tablets or their laptops. They don't have a dedicated streaming setup. So we are using, actually I can pop one off here because we have more than one sitting here. We're using Logitech cameras. This is the C920, but the C920S I think is the newer one, which is a pretty solid, sort of not super high quality webcam, but it's a good quality webcam that is affordable. You know, I think they're like, I don't know, like 80 or $100 Canadian, something like that. So probably less in the US. Probably harder to get now because the era of COVID has meant that so many more people are using webcams that webcams can be harder to get. And the thing that makes this webcam show up better than a lot of people's laptop cameras, for example, is we have professional lighting in this space. There's a green screen behind me. And that makes all the difference in the world because, I would describe it as quite bright in this room, but I have the camera settings adjusted for my skin tone and the brightness so that it doesn't look like it's really bright, but it's actually quite bright in here. And so that's part of it, just a solid webcam. In terms of audio, we are using Rode NZXT1s, which are an XLR microphone. They're a pretty high-end microphone. I think they retail for like $350, $500-ish Canadian, depending on what kind of package. I think they're like $350, so they're probably like, what, $200 US. And we have a USB soundboard here that can accept XLR inputs. Microphones are something that you can spend a lot of money on if you want. high-end recording microphones are extremely expensive. I know that what is considered to be probably the top-end microphone for streamers are what are Shure's mics called? It's a Shure something. SM7B, is that it? Yeah, I think that's the one. So a Shure SM7B, which is like, like they're like $500-$600 just for the microphone. All prices in Canadian, still kind of expensive. And then you'll want to get a board for it. I think JZ 2 Cents. I don't know if you know who that is. Is somebody who reviews tech. Had a video where he got a good board and mic setup. But like at the end of the day, if you want something approaching a more professional quality sound, yeah, it's there's a huge range of stuff. There's so many things you can do. I would say a very good, relatively inexpensive microphone is something like a Blue Yeti. They've kind of nailed the not that expensive of a microphone, but pretty high quality for the price. And I think you could toggle it between cardioid and hypercardioid and omnidirectional so that the audio pickup ranges on it differ depending on your space. But other than that, yeah, lighting makes a huge difference. But yeah, most of our guests are like, yeah, they're on their webcams because they're authors or writers. I know that's the same thing, but I guess like they're authors like Aaron, or they're comic book writers like Jim, or they're musicians like Jason. Like Jason operates a recording studio in Los Angeles, right? Like he's got audio quality stuff out the yin yang, but like webcamming is not something he spends all his time doing. Live streaming, more so now during the pandemic, sure, but but his camera looks good. But the thing to really make stuff look a lot nicer is lighting and the better mics you can get. Yeah, the better the microphone you can have, the better. That sounded bad. I wonder, actually, if I switch to duo view, it's going to go to the second camera, right? Yeah, and the second camera settings are way off right now, but what I'm going to do is I can do a sort of tour. And then I'm going to bring this all the way to the front of this. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to make the mic go all the way to the front of everything that's in the XSplit. And what I can do is on this one, turn off chroma key. I don't have a lot of cable space on this thing. Hi. Soundproofing. Lights. More lights. A clock. Clocks are actually really, really helpful for streaming. More lights. Some fill lighting for the back. And then like this here soundboard right beside one of our coloring sheets. You can see my levels right here. If I talk really loudly, you don't want it to go up here too high. XLR cables, mics. But yeah, there's a sort of impromptu virtual tour. I'll put that down. Anyways, yeah, so no ring light. No, ring lights are nice. And my favorite thing about ring lights, is that you get a sort of halo effect in people's eyes, and so that everybody in their irises, you can see like the little white line around their pupil, and it looks really cool. I think David has one in his setup, which is down on the other side of the office. Clive uses that one in his home setup because Clive loves tech, just loves tech. Red black chessboards. So the red black chessboards are actually soundproofing. They're soundproofing material. Just to this room is like a 10 by 10 square room with flat white walls. So without the soundproofing on either side, what happens is you get a sort of echoey bounce to the audio, and it can sometimes kind of click, and you don't want that. So you don't need soundproofing on everything, but you need soundproofing on some of your stuff, ideally. Yeah. And then I don't know if you caught it, but there's a bucket of Lysol wipes here, and another thing of hand cleaner. Because once I finish in here, I'm gonna put my mask back on and clean this whole room for the person to use it next. Yeah, it's wild, wild world we live in. Anyways, I mean, I hope that gives you some insight. I wouldn't say that there's a right or wrong way to set up your tech for streaming. I mean, better audio quality, pick that over video every time. People will always listen to something that sounds good longer than they will um, put up with, or rather, they'll put up with problems with video more than problems with audio. Problems with audio are just too much. You just won't put up with it. It's a nightmare. Um, but yeah, there are you can it's a rabbit hole. You could spend a lot of money on this if you want, uh, for sure. Um, yeah. Anyways, want to buy a Modron familiar. I think at some point we plan on doing one. I don't know when. What happens after you level your core to maximum? Does it stop getting experience and no more chests? I don't know. I don't think I've done that. Yeah, the Rode NT ones I think are condenser mics, not cardioid mics. Rode microphones NT1. I'm just gonna straight up. Yeah. Oh no, it's a cardioid condenser microphone. So I guess it's actually both. Oh, interesting. Anyways, yeah, roads are great. I highly recommend them. I've never had an issue with them. Um, shouldn't Modrons in missions drop Modron chests? I mean, I suppose that would be interesting, but that's not really something that we're doing. Alrighty. I'm sorry. I just noticed it would be good if players can read about how to unlock Modron in the game. I mean that we were forced to search for this info on the internet, and it's a little confusing. Oh yeah, that's fair. That is totally valid feedback, and I will happily pass that along to the team. Um, um, any thoughts on having Modron enemies drop component pieces? It's not something we're planning on doing. Yeah. Was there a hint for the hidden code? There was. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I did hint on the hidden code. Is the game keeping the count of event champion chests to purple item forever, or is there a risk of reset after a while? No, it tracks it on your account. That's account based info. Um, what about familiars that provided a boost if assigned to their partner? For example, Boo on Minsk or Evelyn on Juniper. Yeah, I mean the problem with stuff like that is that what we don't want is for people to ever feel like their familiar or their champion doesn't work because they don't have the other part of it. Like Boo is a familiar that costs some gems to get. People who just started playing don't get Boo right away. So wouldn't it suck if Minsk is the first like powerhouse DPS you get? I know Jalaxel is the first DPS you get really, and he lasts for a long time when you're starting the game because he's a very good DPS. But Minsk is the first one where you're like, oh, I can build a whole formation around him, because you've already got Celeste and Nayeli in there, and so adding Minsk means that you can have a Shara set to bond humans, and the buff gets better because there's at least 3 humans, and Minsk has an AoE swing with his attack, and like, wouldn't it suck if you felt like he was garbage because you didn't have Boo? Like, and I know that, adding a bonus on top of that isn't necessarily going to make Minsk feel worse, but he would also be less optimal to use ever if you weren't using Boo on him. So I don't know that we ever plan on having specific buffs or boosts tied to using one particular familiar with one particular champion. Does CNE have an official stance on community-run Idle Champions Discord servers separate from the main one? No, Quick Mithril. I mean, lots of games have community run servers. Like it's your server, man. Do what you want. I know that at one point when you were helping us out with community management, you were trying to set up bots and some other stuff and then it never ended up happening, and then you got busy and you started taking on mod duties for another server and all that other stuff. But like, if the community has a place that they want to hang out that we are not a part of, I'm all for it. Go for it. Like we manage our server the way that works for us as a company, and if you want another one, go for it. Yeah, no complaints on my end. Have fun. Any more new information on the new campaign? Last I heard, sometime later in the year. That's about all we can give. I don't have a specific date for the launch of the Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign in Idle Champions. It will be around the time the book launches, which is to say we're looking like mid-late September, if not October for it. Yeah. I believe you said you were using condenser versus directional. No, I was talking... So what I was talking about, Nefarious, was on the Yeti, you can toggle between cardioid, hypercardioid, or omnidirectional for the way that it picks up audio, which you can adjust depending on how you're using the Yeti or what your setup is like. Rode NT1s are apparently the condenser is the type of microphone, and then the directional is the way that it picks up sound. It's like they're two different aspects, both related to picking up audio, but one of them is a completely different physical way of doing it. Like old microphones that are really fragile that do the most amazing job and have the most amazing dynamic range tend to be ribbon microphones, but they're like extraordinarily fragile and expensive. So that's like, I'm sure if you're a pop star and you're in the studio somewhere, that's what you're using, something, a very high-end microphone. But yeah, it varies. We should have some sort of extra option for getting Modron parts during the next Great Modron March. Maybe by then we will consider something like that. Right now or not, but yeah, the Great Modron March, if any event was an event where Modron components or Modron chests or something were in some way available, it would be an event like that one. So I'll pass that suggestion along. And, I'm not expecting anything from it, but I will definitely pass it along. Another suggestion for Modron chests: adding Modrons to time gates. No, like, it's a separate thing. It's just a separate thing. You get them from leveling up things. You get them from patrons. You get them from purchases. This is kind of how it's set up. Now, it's funny. This camera is basically just on and staring at me now, because it's still active. And if I switch over to that other view, you'll see all that stuff. But I'm like trying to look around. I'm like, is there anything confidential just sitting out here right now? I don't think so. I'm gonna have to set this thing back up after the stream because I know some of the other shows actually use this second camera. So, oh. Anyways, it's 2:25. How is everybody doing? Alrighty, I moved my chat window over. Hold on. Suggestion: have Modron chests appearing in the patron shops before the Modron automation is unlocked. It's an interesting idea. You can pass it along. Any idea how many people are playing Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms these days across all platforms? We know exactly how many, but I don't think that's information I'm at liberty to disclose. That's totally not my wheelhouse to be able to say that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I see a few people asking about that now. Yeah, I don't think I can talk about that. Like that's a very good question for when somebody who above my pay grade joins the show and is being asked questions to ask them. Which is to say, our CEO could certainly talk about it, or one of our co-founders slash lead developers could certainly talk about it. But I am not at liberty to talk about it. So, yeah, not going to get me in trouble. No, sir. Is one event more popular than others? Wackabee, I don't think that events being more popular than others is such a thing, so much as there are some champions that are so categorically their best in slot, like over and above. Like in slot 12, that's Zorbu, which means that Zorbu's event is popular to unlock Zorbu. Just like in slot 6, it's Krull. I don't think any single champion can offer a further increase to your wall with just one new champion than Krull can. And so Krull's event tends to be popular because you can get Krull. Zorbu, Krull, and Ahghairon are probably the best in slot ones that I think are most popular right now. Also, another way to see that is when you go to open a time gate. There it is. Oh, looks like it's Zorbu, Krull, and Gromma right now, so not Ahghairon, but yeah, the most popular champions by player usage show up at the top. Check out that super cool Gromma with an octopus on her back. Oh man, I wasn't sold on that skin until I saw the octopus, and then I was like, that is super cool. Yeah, and yeah, as Snow 815 says, plus the speed champions. So Shandy, Deacon. I think there tends to be at least one really good popular unlock per event, but yeah. Your opponent. Why do devs generally not talk about their player base numbers? That's a sort of industry thing. Like it's a tricky question. I can't really get into it, and so I shouldn't. But what I will leave you with on that subject is think about what kind of information someone might have access to if they start getting numbers like that. It's a super cool Gromma skin that only Xboxers get right now. Yeah, Druid Warrior, Warrior Druid Gromma, or Druid Warrior Gromma. I can't remember which name we ended up going with. Blunk. Did we end up calling it Druid Warrior? War Druid Gromma. Yeah, that is currently an Xbox exclusive skin, but it will show up in other places. I don't have an exact ETA on it, but sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, it'll show up somewhere else, give or take. Yeah, there's no permanent platform exclusive stuff in the game. War Druid. If only Gromma had a DPS tech. Yeah, but in war there are more roles than DPS. Somebody's got to take the hits. Somebody's got to do the healing. Let's see. Are there any plans to review or rework Shandy's dash skill? It's been somewhat frustrating playing on iOS and having multiple crashes since the last update, and have to spin her back up each time. I mean, this is the first I've personally heard of that, so I'm going to pass that along. Now, as far as I'm aware, there are no plans to rework Shandy's dash, but if there's a bug causing crashes because of it on iOS, that's definitely something we want to know. So I'll pass that along. Yeah. Alrighty, 231. I feel like no, it's not. So I talk every once in a while a bit about how I'm DMing two different campaigns virtually now for my friends and family. One of them because my close friend who has always DM'd for me, um, I promised him I would DM the campaign after we finished Tomb of Annihilation, and so for him and his wife and my wife, I'm DMing a Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus campaign. They have made their way into Avernus. They are in Elturel, similar to the game actually. They're about as far as we are in the Idle Champions campaign actually. They haven't made it to Knucklebone, Fort Knucklebone, or anything like that. I don't know if they're going to go there because once they go to leave Elturel, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of different, very interesting and enticing and curious options at them for how they could proceed. Because one of the characters has a backstory that ties into the previous Lord of the Nine Hells, as well as one of the other current dukes who is on the outs with the leadership. And so I have a bunch of, I guess, homebrew stuff that I'm tying in for that. And then I always thought it would be cool, and feel free to steal this idea, although we're not doing it in our game. But I thought that it would be a lot of fun if Elturel was not the only city that got pulled into the Nine Hells. And so I have plans for it to be a little more populated than that. Yeah. Anyways, it's I'm very much looking forward to it because we're now. It's very it's very fun actually. So I guess from a DM's perspective, because I lay out the track for them, but I try to, as best as possible, accommodate their curiosity and their desire to check out other things. And so I constantly like to throw things into the sessions that are like, you know, here, this is a thing that could be a really interesting side quest kind of stuff. Like I constantly throw that in there, and like to a degree, they're determined to carry on with the main plot because they rolled characters that would be people who would carry on with the main plot. So I've been coming up with different things that they find interesting to try and pull them in different directions. And once you've made it to Elturel and you've made your way through the events there in the book, that's when it really starts to open up, because that's when it's really like, oh, you can go anywhere in Avernus now. Or in the case of my party, they have a one-way ticket down to Stygia, so it's going to be interesting for them. But yeah, like once it opens up, it's like, oh, they can go in all these different directions. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of things at them and see what they want to do. It's going to be fun. Do the events in the future plan to have year one champion skins so people can unlock them without time gates? I don't know. I think it's, and the reason I don't know actually is that we have not 100% defined exactly how we're going to do year 4 events. And I have not been able to sit through that briefing yet. So I don't know yet. That's something that I expect to find out more about over the next couple weeks. So sorry, Lockberg, but I can't really answer that question. The Shandy question is more about certain cooldowns and timers resetting when you start up the game after a crash. Yeah, sure. But there's also there aren't plans to rework a champion's ability to be crash proof like that. The problem is that there's crashes, and so we need to find the bug, and then you can not worry about that. Did you kill your mother-in-law's second character? I did not. No. But we'll see how she rolls in future combat encounters, because I don't. I don't make easy mode combat encounters. The enemies that are trying to kill you are trying to kill you, and so they're going to use their abilities to use their powers to the best of their ability. Has there been word of new patron influence tiers or familiars or anything like that? No. What I can say is that we, first of all, with the Summer Spectacular, we just released more stuff in the patron shops, and we'd released more stuff in the patron shops before that with the Spring Extravaganza. We will be releasing more things in Patreon in the patron shops, but I don't have an ETA on any of that stuff. What is your ideal party size to DM/play? I think smaller is better. I'd say 4 people. You know, the nice thing about a smaller party size is that the lower the number, the fewer people who are sitting out when somebody is engaging with something specific. You know, like you come up to something and you know, everybody wants to participate in this role playing moment or whatever. You know, the fewer people at the table, then the fewer people who could potentially be left out. That isn't to say that bigger games aren't fun, because they very much can be. You know, and like certainly like you watch Critical Role, I mean, there's 7 players, nightmare. But I like having like 3 or 4 because things proceed fast enough that you don't lose, nobody's attention veers away from actually playing the game. Whereas when there's more than that, when there's 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, how many people, there are people who might not get to talk or do anything for 5, 10 minutes in a round of combat. So that's my personal preference. You do you. Word on additional tiers of blessings. No, not yet. Idea for Modrons, a loop of adventures that they do in order. Oh, so you would want to, rather than picking an adventure and having them reset on it over and over, you would want it to be a series of adventures that they do over and over. That's an interesting idea. I don't think that's something that we're planning to do based on the feature, but yeah, you can pass the thought along. Let's see. Ipelagio, not sure if it's been reported yet, but sometimes there's a bug where the familiar gets lost between teams, equipped, and yeah, we're aware of that one. That one sucks. Let's see. Any chance that next week's update to Dragon Heist will also include the addition of Tier 4 blessings? Next week's update to Dragon Heist includes an additional Evergreen Champion unlock. Yeah. Alrighty, in case you missed it earlier due to the raffle extravaganza, oh, thanks for repeating this, Fat Nuit. What feature has been the most impactful from your perspective, be it the amount of work put in or pure in-game impact, and which planned feature are you most excited about but can't talk about? Have you ever been excited about a feature in development that ultimately had to be cut, didn't work out, or was put on hold indefinitely? Most impactful... I would say is actually, so not that long ago I probably would have said patrons, because it'll allowing you to replay variants and stuff is really neat. But I think I would say most impactful. Which feature is the most impactful? I mean, Modron automation allowing you to set up farming runs in the background and stuff is a phenomenally impactful feature, an immediately impactful feature. I'm a huge fan of things like skins, though. Like, that's a really subtle feature, but I really like it. So I'm not sure which one I like the most. Yeah, like right now, the one that I'm most excited about is Modron automation, because it allows you to do so much stuff. I think the patrons might be it for me, though. You know, reasons to play through more adventures, more ways to get buffs. No, I'm going to go with Modron automation. If only because placing pipes I find therapeutic and fun. To like, the puzzle aspect of Modron automation is what sells it for me. So I'm going to say the most impactful from my perspective is Modron automation, because it's got its own minigame. Let's see. Which planned feature are you most excited about but can't talk about yet? Nice try. Ever been excited about a feature in development that ultimately had to be cut? No, we haven't cut any. Yeah, we can take a while to get to some, but yeah, we haven't cut any. Are you one of the developers? What is your primary role with C&E? Just curious. I am not a developer. Otherwise, I'd be working on Modron bug fixes instead of here. I work as part of the marketing team. My official title is Creative Marketing Specialist. I don't host all of our live streams. I host 2 of them, but I manage all of them. And I work with our mods, and I do a lot of other specialized marketing related stuff, I guess I should say. Uh, Loki Shinigami. It would be nice to choose which champions want to do the events in the year of in year 4. Say you have a year 2 or 3 champion that you fully epic geared, but the year 1 is still green. I'd rather be able to work on the year 1 than not have it as an option. Um, yeah, that's an interesting bit of feedback, Loki. I guess we'll see exactly how year 4 events shape up. When I click on familiars and go to buy one, the screen flies by and I can't buy it. I do have a huge potion of speed on. Um, yeah, the I mean, it sounds like such a pain in the butt, Phoenix Beard. uh, so you try to purchase one. So like, if you go in here, you're trying to. Uh, hmm. Anyways, yeah, I guess Phoenix Beard. I'm not really sure. I understand what you're. I'm trying to conceive of how it could fly by and not be able to do it. I mean, if you're progressing through areas too quickly because of the speed potion, like maybe try to buy them when you're not doing that. That's the only thing I can think of. Anywho, um, we are getting closer and closer to the end of our time together this week. Um, just trying to think of what can I talk about that we haven't talked about already. I did. Oh, wrong channel. Bum bum bum. Alrighty. Let's see. What should I go over? Um, Griddle Champions, just to reiterate, will be previewing stuff as per usual tomorrow. New art coming to the game, as well as some other things. So that's really cool. Our next Evergreen Champion launches next week with Dragon Heist 10. Following that, our CNE Original Goblin Artificer Champion will be coming with Bright Swords 3. And I can say that 2 other champions confirmed to be coming to the game are Lucius Virion Elwin Elanasto from High Rollers Eros. I probably said that name wrong. It is the most difficult name to read / say at the same time. Will be coming end of this year ish. Finishing the Eros team as well. Torgar Steelfist will be coming to the game. I can't remember if we said when, so maybe I won't say when. But Torgar is coming, and along with Torgar, a Dark Order synergy will be coming as well. So there's those things. Those things coming. Is the flow of time on the background team slower than the team in use? Sometimes it feels like the background farm takes longer to advance even with the same setup. It's different. The one in the foreground takes advantage of all your formation abilities, speed potions, speed champions abilities, etc. The one in the background, your whatever party is you're not currently active, uses a version of the calculations that offline progress uses. So it's just different. Year 4 will be 3 champions per event instead of 4. As I understand it, that looks like that's how it's going to go. But I will wait until we have a year 4 event blog to talk about it. Can you talk to us about the public bug lists? I mean, I can't really. It's not a part of my areas of responsibility or stuff that I look at, so I can't really speak to it. Is there anything coming from Critical Role now that Exandria is in a book? What can I say about that, Fire Sale Oz? I can say that it is unlikely. We would love any opportunity we get to work with the folks at Critical Role. We've worked with them before. We know them. They are awesome humans, exactly like you would expect them to be. And so if we have an opportunity to work with them on something, whether that's bringing some of their characters into the game or whatever, we would love to. I don't know how likely that is. They are understandably very, very busy. They're developing a cartoon series. They're developing a whole bunch of different product lines. They just announced more Funko Pops. They have their show running again, but it's in a very distinctly different format. So the chances of a collaboration with Critical Role are not high, but we would welcome and relish the opportunity to do so. Do you think we will see a dev blog near the end of the month that would go over any new features being worked on for year 4? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Justin's head at any given point. Like the dev blog that he released at the end of last year that was talking about what was coming in 2020 was not one that he talked to us about before he made it. So, it's always a possibility. Now, based on from where I sit, I would expect to see a dev blog before year 4 events start, or as part of year 4 events starting, that talk about how year 4 events will differ. Similar to how last time around we tried out a different approach with year 3 events that was less popular, and ended up rolling back that change. We are going to try something with year 4 events, and we will see. We have next week. So what's the date for the next week's event? Let me just double check. So that'll be August 19th is when we're going to have Dragon Heist Part 10, I think now, arrive, along with a challenging variant to unlock Alcoria Stonemarrow, our next Evergreen champion. On the 26th of August, we'll be starting Bright Swords 3, as well as a C&E original Goblin Artificer champion who... I mean, it's a petite goblin in a giant suit of power armor. It's super rad, and I'm excited to see it. I haven't even seen them animated yet. And then I can't remember if it's around that time or immediately following that time when we will have our next anniversary celebration. And then after that, year 4 events will start. So that's kind of how things are shaping up right now. Yeah. I kind of dig this jungle song, but it's not my favorite one I've picked for the background music on this stream, and I don't know. It's just, is it appropriate? It doesn't seem right. I mean, I pick the moody ones like all the time, so there's that. Yeah. I could do is, no. At some point, I'll set up a playlist where it plays all the different songs from Bardic Inspiration, and then I'll just play that in the background. Yeah, there is background music, nem nem nem, but it's very quiet. It's like just loud enough that if you have your volume up and you would hear the AC vent overhead, you don't hear it because you hear the music. That's where we set the volume level for it. But it's not very high. On my end, I have the audio levels set slightly differently, so I can hear everything that's going out. But the levels are slightly different for you than they are for me. Yeah, sound levels are a fun, tricky thing. I do not envy sound engineers. That is a tough, super tough job. Yeah. Broadface Killer. When do year 4 events start? Next month. Yeah, I want to say mid-September, maybe late September. Yeah. All right. What else we got? I'm just adjusting some sound level stuff on me. It's been bugging me all stream, but I didn't want to complain about it. At times, it sounds like a phone ringing in the other room and nobody's answering it. What? I am not hearing that. Yeah. Huh. Also, what kind of phone... I'm curious, Ragnar, like, what kind of phone ring are you picturing? Because when I think of what a phone sounds like when it's ringing, I still picture, like, the sound that old rotary telephones used to make, that, like, really obnoxious, loud, ringing sound that you could hear through your whole house. Yeah, that's kind of what it pictures to me. But the girl with tinnitus goes by, yeah. Yeah. Analog bells, yeah. And so my dad, being a cranky old hippie who, doesn't like that the world has changed, has like wired up has a phone from like the 1920s wired up in his kitchen just for fun. And because they didn't have a ringer that was loud enough, he uses one of the louder rotary ones. And so when the phone rings at his house, it is loud as hell. And it's not like his hearing is going. His hearing is great, um, but it's just, I don't know. He just has this a soft spot for that vintage stuff. So it's pretty wild. Anyways, yeah. Just trying to think if there's anything else I should go over before tomorrow. Definitely tune in to Griddle Champions. New art, new reveals, new stuff. Evergreen Champion next week. CNA Original the week after that. It's a goblin in a suit of power armor. What could be cooler than that? And did I mention that there's a grappling fist that they have? Like, yeah, super cool. I don't think that had been spoiled yet. Keep being awesome. Keep having fun. Keep playing the game. And please, thank you for bearing with us, and keep being persistent in your diligence, just finding bugs and stuff. We really appreciate it. If you're wanting to know more about Split the Party or unlocking Modron Automation, I highly recommend checking out Garwar's Guide to Everything, episode 15. You can find that on the CNE Games YouTube channel. You can probably still find it in our VODs. I'm not sure exactly how long VODs are held for by Twitch before they disappear, but certainly on the CNE Games YouTube, which is youtube.com/CNE Games. This has been our show for Thursday, August 13th, 2020. We made it past the halfway point of the year. Thank you for joining us today, for participating in the Idle Champions and D&D communities. You guys are awesome. This show exists because of a lot of people who are awesome, including my co-producer/moderator, Jay, our executive producer overlord, Erica, and our partners at Dungeons & Dragons, Greg, Bart, Pelham, Allison Shawling, and Brandy. Take care, everybody, and we'll catch you tomorrow morning for Griddle Champions. Cheers.